We are an organization that has got 750 staff out of an established workforce of 1,500. Until today, we have not been able to reach our the setup accepted for formation by the Public Service Commission because we don't get budget. So practically, that answer, how I can give you, is the public to volunteer, the media to do coverage. Let's say if there is something, those tenderpreneurs you have talked about, if you are able to say this is what is happening, we will be able to do a coverage. But then the question is this: even asset recovery, the asset recovery department in ESCC is about how many people? For those Kabusha? 20. So you can imagine 20 officers trying to recover asset recovery from a public officers, the workforce of about 1.5 million people. We just do the dotting, and out of that, it's the right way. If people can volunteer, you know, nowadays public officers, there's one thing they have stopped. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, somebody will put a very good house in Karen and say, this is my palatial house I have built. Now they have realized if they do that, they are giving free information to ESCC. They no longer do that. Maybe they do the homecoming secretly of their new houses, and it's not done. So it's not possible to have that kind of coverage, but you can do something. What Wangari Maathai said, that when there's that fire and then there's a small kandege, kanamwaga maji kanarudi, it shows that you are putting an effort. But to have it by ESCC as an entity, that capacity will be the issue of capacity will be a problem. Then there was the issue of the cost. Mimi, I don't want to be abusive. It's a very difficult case. You have somebody who has stolen and has not followed procurement process. Is being prosecuted in Milimani. There's a case you are handling, Turkana is being handled in Naivasha. That one we don't have an outright format. It's like somebody asking you, what is the cost of bringing a kid from the time the kid is born until 5 years? Kuna mwingine anakula ugali, mwingine anakula ice cream, mwingine anakula nyama, mwingine anakula sausage. So how do you quantify that one? That's the analogy of that question. So I have no answer for it. But I just need to give you a clue. Because you are the media here, it's very, very important. One of the biggest challenges we have is cost on investigation. Very, very expensive. The case of the maize, somebody, you are handling it. We had to bring witnesses from South Africa. Mzungu anasema mgongo yake iliharibika, lazima pande business class. Are we together? And you know, Kenya has got a lot of security issues, so I will not stay in any other hotel except Radisson Blue. And I need the one with presidential suit. And I want to be there with CG. Some even tell you your country is very, very insecure. When I land at the airport, I need 2 policemen to take me around. So you pay, he come. Then you have another case. We have people who have gone up to Los Angeles to go and get evidence. And it really eats into our budget. High impact cases, they consume a lot of budget. In our budget, 62% of the budget allocated goes to salaries and utilities, fuel and all this, insurance, medical. 28% goes to operations. Out of that 28%, almost 2/3 go to investigation. Also, a lawyer leaves ESCC, he goes to Kisumu for a case. Per diem, the second day amerudi, what happened? Magistrate hakutokeza, asemekana ni mgonjwa. Nyingine witness hawakuja, nyingine. So, mentioning, hearing, another date, it eats into our money, and we have one thing that we really look for is increase of our budget. So the costing is a relative question, but generally, most of these grand cases, that involves high whatever, they are very expensive. Like I'll give you an example. When we were doing the Ronald Gada investigation in Vipingo, we have to send our valuers, we have to send quantity surveyors, we have to send land economists, we have to send accountants. Sometimes we seek help from public service, public works, because they have the expertise. You have to pay for their per diem. It becomes very expensive. So the one person who asked that question, we don't have an outright answer to say there's a uniformity of how much you will pay per investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana CEO. There was a comment about media. We have been accused of bungling investigations and cases that are being billed by EACC. Rob, maybe you can tell us whether we are bungling or we are just trying to support EACC.
That's what is called fixing. She has fixed me. But very quickly, I think the answer is that first you can take it from where Bishop took the discussion and say probably within these structures, whether it is the court registry or whatever, these people have networks, yeah, and they use these networks to leak out the information. Now, what I can tell you is the media landscape is now very wide, and I do not fool myself that we are the only ones who can take out that information. As you know, what Zubeda said, they're citizen journalists. So these people can out this information, and before you know it, it's on social media circulating. However, from our side, we have what is called gatekeeping. Yeah? Information has to go through our processes before we publish, and it cannot be intentional that we want to disable your investigation or undermine it, because, as we said, we are partners in this fight. So that is the straight answer that we can give.
You remain there. There's one more question for you. Right. Microphone.
So my question to you is about sensationalization of stories by the media. And I will say this because I have also been I've been in meetings where the media wants a nice catchphrase, a nice catchword. They want to say this has happened, and they don't want to tell the whole story. They want to sensationalize something. I'll give you an example. We had a meeting with the former Chief Justice and other government agencies. Then suddenly the media, this was real, proper media, they come and say, the fight against corruption has been failed by the judiciary. They say, they say some things, and you're like, you're not reporting the truth of what actually was. And then you see, because it's going to be a good byline, they won't listen to you. And they don't give you a chance to say, why don't you capture properly the discussions instead of making it sensational and saying it's the judiciary, it is the police, it is this. And I, every time I look at it, I think, because it's going to have a good line, there's a lot of sensationalization.
Yeah. So, there are two things, two answers to that. Number one, as I said, our profession is practiced according to the principles of the profession. Now what happens is this. As a media house, if you consistently are sensational, as you say, and sensation here, my understanding is noise without substance. Yeah? If you constantly have screaming headlines, and when your customer buys the paper and goes inside and they find nothing, what does that do? Shreds your credibility. You will not have returning customers for your product. So there is something that comes back to us. Yeah? Number two, that is the area of legal landmines. Yeah? If you sensationalize, you are taking yourself very close to defamation, libel charges. So there is always that understanding that the media is slanting towards sensation, but there is a downside to it. Sometimes, and I'm just saying this because the 2 points I've made are the real ones, substantive ones. Sometimes the journalists are trying to find information. Yeah? For example, about the meeting, no one is able to really get the journalist's substance about what transpired, what was the agenda of the meeting. And therefore, they are left in a place where they are second guessing, they are trying to reach the substance of the story and they can't. But the answer to your question, Madam, is yes, sensationalism is bad. It's bad for the fight against corruption, it's bad for journalism.
Asante sana ndugu Rapuro, asante sana mwenyekiti wa EACC, asante mkurugenzi wa EACC. Na tumefikia kikomo, hatuwezi kuendelea na maswali. Najua kwamba ufisadi ni jambo ambalo kila mmoja angependa kuuliza swali, upande wa wanahabari na pia upande wa EACC, lakini tutafikia hapo. Nitamwalika mwenzangu kutoka EACC akachukue usukani, lakini kabla ya niondoke, tutakuwa na mkutano wetu wa kila mwaka kama KEG kule Mombasani mwezi wa 12. Tutaogelea huko na tunaalika EACC ikaweze kuungana nasi katika kongamano hilo mwezi Disemba mwaka huu. Asante sana.
Thank you, Mary, for that. At least the audience has spoken. Now, at this point, we want to do a wrap-up, and we will hear from a council member of Kenya Editors Guild, and this is none other than Topista Namusoba. You have 2 minutes. Then after, I will invite our Deputy CEO to do equally the same, and you will allow me, after we are finished, to make 3 announcements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think mine is very brief. I don't want to be the person standing between, the woman standing between you and your lunch. And mine is just to give a vote of thanks. So again, the chair, EACC, the CEO and the commissioners, the president of KEG, the CEO, council members of KEG, ladies and gentlemen, and the members of the Fourth Estate. We want to thank you very much for having come to this press club discussions. I know the issue of corruption is very close to our hearts. None of us, I want to believe, has not come across an event or a situation where there's an issue of corruption involved. So all of us have a responsibility to fight this dragon from our very homes, from the places of work, and as people who receive services. When I step out of there, or when I'm driving a car, is my car in good condition so that when a policeman flags me down, that I'll not find myself in that situation? But also being human, that if I'm found in that situation, what am I going to do? Because both of us are to blame, the giver and the taker. So as the song went, ya tuangamize ufisadi, lazima tusimame bega kwa bega, tushikane mikono. And I just want to also recognize the court reporters, the Court Reporters Association, Crime Reporters Association, who joined us in this event and have also covered this event. We want to also thank the Secretariat for the planning and all the members of the Guild for participating in this event. So thank you very much, but I also want to respond to the CEO that our president and the CEO will actually organize for members of the fourth estate to visit ESCC to ask the questions that you said we should come and ask. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
The Deputy CEO, ESCC, Mr. Abdi Mahmoud.
Thank you, Jackson. And mine will also be very brief. It is basically just to thank those people who participated in making this particular meeting a success. And the first group of people we want to thank is the President of the Kenya Editors Guild and the council members for accepting our invitation to partner with us in hosting this successful meeting. And we want to say that ESCC has taken seriously the feedback given and will incorporate these particular comments in our strategy moving forward. ESCC will remain available for more engagements with you in the collective efforts to enhance good governance. Second is the editors, court reporters, and investigative journalists for creating time from your busy schedules to attend to this event. ESCC urges you to incorporate the lessons learned from this engagement and advance the conversation through your platforms to address the public apathy and the misinformation that are common in the fight against corruption. The third persons to be appreciated and thanked are the ESCC chairperson, the commissioners, and the CEO of ESCC for attending and engaging the country through the media forum on how ESCC is executing its mandate bestowed upon it by the Constitution of Kenya and the people of Kenya. Fourth is the UNODC for sponsoring the event. ESCC recognizes you as a reliable partner and will continue to work with you. Five is the organizing committee from both ESCC and the Kenya Editors Guild. And please allow me in 1 minute for the committee members just to stand up so that we can recognize them and thank them for their support. Please, let's give them a hand. Thank you. The other stakeholders and partners that we just need to mention in this particular vote of thanks is a group of persons both as state and non-state actors for their respective roles. First is the executive for setting the right tone at the top and increasing our budgetary allocation for this financial year, and also for providing a favorable environment to execute our mandate. Second is the judiciary. Here we want to specifically thank the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya and those judges who work in the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Division who have helped develop the growth of progressive jurisprudence favorable for the fight against corruption. The other group, the other team that we want to thank is the legislature through the National Assembly the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee for continuously supporting the efforts of EACC and all other stakeholders under the Kenya Leadership Integrity Forum. Finally, is the media houses that have dedicated time to cover the event. Please receive our thanks and gratitude for the airtime that you have offered to us throughout this particular meeting. And we will always be available as EACC to provide expert and panel discussions. Finally, I know there are many questions that may not have been answered, and some of the participants would have wished to ask questions. We want to invite you to ask those questions through our representative, who is the head of corporate communications. He was introduced by the CEO. You will be able to address any issue that you may have, however sensitive it is. Thank you very much, and I want to wish you a happy afternoon and bon appetit. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdi, and thank you, Topista. The person who gives the vote of thanks, sometimes they are forgotten because they speak last. So let me take the opportunity to thank the two who have given the vote of thanks. Thank you. With that, allow me, just in line with the established practice of EACC, to invite the President of the Kenya Editors Guild and the CEO and the Chairman of EACC and the CEO of EACC just to exchange a souvenir. A souvenir. We don't want to call it a gift.
Not a promise.
Just a souvenir. Yes. Irene, bring it forward. Thank you. Thank you for that. One other announcement. If you have misplaced your phone, I have it. So you see me after the function. You will be required to tell me the IM number. I have it, so don't panic. Number two, the President of the Editors Guild has requested for a group photo after we finish. It is important for them, so Chairman, CEO, Commissioners, and colleagues join, and all the invited editors here, you'll join that in that group photo, but the protocol people will show us how to go about it. Then it will be done just here, so that the transition does not take a lot of time. After that, lunch will be served. After lunch, you will leave at your pleasure. So at this point, we can be organized for the group photo. Thank you. The people taking the group photo, I think the cameras are still on. Yes. So, commissioners, you can come forward. Directors, senior editors in the various media houses, you can come forward. Directors, EACC, can join. We need some assistance from the hotel people who want to move this podium from here.
Watu wajipange.